Post,
Here.
Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Okay. Good evening, Hudson Housing Authority. Happy to be here and happy to see everyone again. The first order of business on the agenda is public comment. Do you have any public comments this evening?
I do. Have you guys heard anything about the outleaders or when they're gonna get fixed? I mean, I know they're fixed, but like really fixed.
You have anything else?
No, that's it.
Ms. Decker, in what apartment?
415.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Decker, 415. All right. And I'll, as usual, I'll talk about that at another time, okay? All right, anybody else for public comment? Nope. Okay. Let me just check the chat. Thank you, Commissioner. Don't see anything. Oh, and so the governor has declared that there are no more public meeting or Zoom meetings. All meetings will be in person. Meaning the board would have to be present, as well as myself. So we will still continue meetings at hybrid, and because today we just got the information and I'm notifying the public now. If someone has a comment, they can put it in the chat, we'll respond, but going forward, all public comments would need to be in person, is just like we are at the meeting. Okay, just to make sure, I hope I made that clear. And so we'll move forward to old business. I've sent out the minutes for the August meeting. And if no one has any questions, take a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I will make that motion. Second.
First, and seconded by Ms. Commissioner Smith and seconded by Commissioner Cousins. We don't need a roll call vote for that, all unless there's anybody opposed, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
And thank you so much for the meetings. They were very, very nice. I appreciate that.
Good, thank you. Good evening, we change the attendance. Dr. Wolf is present. Just for the record, Commissioner Wolf is present. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
All right.
All right, second. All right. Second order of business or the accounts payable for July and August of 2022. Remember, we didn't have a meeting in June, so now we should be caught up. These are the minutes from July. Accounts payable for July and August of 2022. We have a motion to.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Next stamp. Part of our electric suite of electric bills. I remember, I think even when I was director, I was trying to get a little more clarification on next stamp and couldn't. Or maybe I did and I forgot about it. But
We as a board have mentioned this in the past about the next stamp. About how we felt like they were like one of those, not to say scam, but like where it's like adding on way more money than you should be using with just using National Grid. So, and that was what Tim, when we brought that up, but it was just, he was gonna look into it and that was just that. But I felt like next stamp was something that did need to be looked into. I felt like they were not needed at all.
I would just add, my memory is that it was something we signed on for during Tim's, like probably in the first year that I was on the board, so probably in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it seemed to offer like discounts. That was the idea, is that it offered a discount on electrical usage.
I
So-
felt like it was one of those companies that go around and knock on your door and say, hey, if you join with us, you get a free phone, and then your electric bill is like an extra $400.
So I'm not 100% sure. I believe, to Commissioner Wolf's point, I believe it's a company who does give some type of discount somehow. And they end up giving us, we paid them, but they end up giving us a percentage off for our electric, but that's what I think. I'm not 100%
Right.
sure, but what I'll do is find out exactly, and I'll be able to report out on it at the next meeting for the public. But as soon as I get the information, I'll share it with the commission.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for the question.
I just want to say thank you so much for being able to break this down as an itemized. This has done me wonders.
The quick report, good.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to approve the July and August accounts payable.
So moved.
Second it.
Moved by Commissioner Zakos, is seconded by Commissioner Boer.
No,
Wolf.
Oh, Commissioner Wolf, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Uh,
If there's no roll call vote needed, if we're all in agreement, all in favor, state by aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? So the next order of business is exciting. Election of officers. Election of
Jeff,
officers
do
We did. We do it every year.
every year. So it's been a year already.
My goodness.
I wasn't here, so I'm just gonna tell you guys. But is there anyone who is interested in running in a new position, or are we keeping the slate as it is? Meaning, the chairperson is Commissioner Smith, the vice chair is Commissioner Cousins, the treasurer is Commissioner Wolf, and the secretary is Commissioner Boer. Is anybody interested in running for any positions, any other positions, or would there be opposition to that?
How would you feel if I nominated you for secretary?
Me? Oh, I don't think that's a good idea.
Why?
I think that I'm worried about my capacity to take on any other
That
responsibility.
was Rebecca's concern. She sort of stepped up in a moment of nobody else wanting to do it, and her capacity is also,
Yeah,
and she's not here, so she might have been pleasantly surprised to come back and not be secretary anymore. So-
I apologize. I would like to help out more, but
No,
I
it's
don't want to commit to something that I then would be detrimental to the rest of the board of that.
A related question, I can't do that, but because we had somebody doing minutes for a while, which is a big part of being secretary, right? Is sort of like
Correct.
taking minutes.
So right now, I'm doing the minutes,
Right.
But I am actively looking for a scribe. A college student who's interested in politics or housing would be great.
Mhm.
And I'm putting that out there publicly. So if anybody's interested, please contact me at j.dodson, DODSON @Hudson Housing Authority.com if you're interested in being a scribe or taking the minutes for the meeting. It would be a paid position, and we'll talk about that when you inquire. All right, but yeah, right now I'm doing it, and it's not a problem. But it'd be nice if someone else was doing it.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you nominating me, Claire.
So,
I'll take the compliment.
so is it okay to have a vote as opposed to individuals as a slate to stay the same? Is that okay? So would someone like to make a motion to vote? Do we need to make a motion to vote as a slate first?
Me as well.
And then we'll do the vote. So can I have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Wolf.
Commissioner, thank you. Thank you
I'll
so
second.
much. Second, Commissioner Cousins, second. All those in favor of voting in a slate as opposed to having individual vote, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. So then the next thing would be to vote the slate in. We're gonna have a motion to vote for the election of officers for Ravonda Smith as the chairperson, Commissioner Cousins as vice chair, Rebecca Wolf as treasurer, and Rebecca Bora as secretary.
Make that motion.
Commissioner Cousins first,
Seconded.
and Commissioner Zakos seconds. I'm sorry, I have to repeat this, but I need this.
No, it's good.
for the
That's how you
notes. Seconds that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and passes unanimously. All right, next order of business is the executive director's report. So, the first thing I'd like to talk about is that we had a resident meeting on the 15th of this month. And it was a very good meeting. 40+ people attended.
Wow.
There was nowhere to sit. I first want to thank the residents for even coming and taking the opportunity to listen to what I had to say to them. But we discussed reestablishing community here at Bliss and Columbia Apartments, because some people mentioned that they feel left out from Columbia Apartments. So we want to make sure that that does not happen. They are part of this community. So we talked about that. I reviewed several items from the lease, which were in direct response to resident complaints, which included smoking, the pet policy, recertification and work order procedures, and rent. I reminded the residents that we're here to assist them, and I encouraged them to come to the office and speak to us, particularly rent issues, so that we can assist them with payment agreements and or help them and to put them in the proper direction for rental assistance. Actually, I mentioned a specific program that I had just found out about that day. I don't remember the name of the agency, but the program is STEP.
Oh, community action.
Thank you so much. Right, community action. And what's the full name? I'm sorry, let me say it.
Community action of Greene County.
Community Action of Greene County.
It's
I
the
met-
solutions to end homelessness
Right,
program.
so I met them in, or one of the representatives in 2 meetings, actually. One, the
Barbara.
Housing Advisory Board meeting, and then she was here for a managers meeting, which local managers hold together. And, I was excited to hear about the program. The application for the assistance is literally about 40 pages long. And I don't want residents to be discouraged about that. We will help you with it and through it, but we definitely encourage you to apply.
One of the stipulations, I think, is that you have to have an
Eviction
eviction
notice.
notice. though.
So to that end, while it's my understand, we actually can help with that, and it won't be as negative as people would think. She indicated that it had to be a 14-day notice, and so we send those regularly at when after the 5th of the month. So if they take that notice, and actually I'll contact her and see if that's sufficient, so that we can try to get people assistance. All right, but it was a really good meeting. I was very excited, and again, I want to thank the residents that were here, all of them, and for listening to me pontificate about housing and all the things that we can do, as well as my experience at housing. And hopefully, I believe that, they were encouraged and hopefully they were inspired to work together as a community to make it better.
Can I ask a
Also,
question?
yes, ma'am.
Are you gonna have regular meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I probably, I believe that as opposed to once a quarter, again, I don't want to wear people out, but I'd like to get them, talk to the people as much as possible. So I believe I'm going to do it every other month.
40 people is impressive.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. I felt like a preacher.
But you're good at it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Everyone, they were right on the edge of seats. That much laughter. I
Thank you
mean,
so much.
Aw.
Oh, that's nice.
good time.
Thank you for
Thank you so
sharing that.
much. Yeah. I'll pay you later. I'm just kidding. No, thank you so much. So,
Does anybody mind if I crack that door?
no, not at
Just
all.
get like a little air.
We got it.
Air guy?
Thank you so much, sir. So in terms of the elevator, Otis is not as responsive as I'd like them to be. I actually spoke with the lady today, a person today, I've forgotten her name. And I don't want to publicly, but they haven't given me the quotes that I need to help facilitate a decision. In that decision, I'm looking at is what to do or how to address the small elevator. We want to do it as economically as possible, but we want it to be efficient. So one of the complaints in the previous meeting was that the call boxes in the elevators were not working. Those are fixed, except for in the small elevator, now they're, I guess it was antiquated, and so the button is stuck in that elevator, but the lines are actually connected, but the button is stuck, and so Otis has already been here for that, and they ordered the parts, and that's forthcoming. So the elevators have not gone down as frequently as they have in the past, and we've kind of made some adjustments to help that. But they're still not working continuously as they should be. And so I'm still working to make sure that that happens. So I will be following up with them again. I think I may have to go there wherever they are because I really need someone's attention. I'm not used to this type of or this lack of responsiveness. So to that point, if there's any board members who know anybody directly or can connect me with someone else, like at the head of the company or something like that, that would be good. Or I'm seeking that information. So I need to actually have a meeting with the company so we can get a better response. I mean, and when I say that, just in terms of this issue, because when we, of course, when we call them and they broke down, they come pretty much right away. They come within 6 hours. But we need, we need information to make a decision on how to fix the problem permanently. Okay.
Isn't the issue the parts? The issue is them getting us the parts.
Well, so what I'm trying, I understand your question. What I'm trying to evaluate, to be very honest, is that the building is 50 years old, the elevators are very old. And so I am trying to compare brand new to modernization or brand new to rehabilitation. And so that is the problem. They're saying it's obsolete. And so to that point, I've asked them to give me a quote just to modernize the small elevator, since it is the one that gives us trouble. But I've literally been waiting for it for 3 weeks. They haven't given me that information. The lady is new, she shared with me today. She just started and she needs some information from, coworkers. But someone else should have given me the information by now. But I am working on it. I'm actively working on it and concerned about it. Okay. The RFQ for development partners has not been released yet. We're still in negotiations with HCDPA to acquire additional property. Once that is solidified, we can include that information and request for qualifications and move forward. Whatever other work we can do in the back to that same point, we're working on trying to get ready. HUD has given us positive feedback. I met with them earlier this month, and they've given us positive feedback and said that it was okay to start working on this. So what we have to give them a full-fledged plan, and so we're waiting for this information so we can do that.
Can you just break down to the residents quickly, like what we're talking to HCDPA about and what step that might be in development, just to give a.
So what we're talking to HCDPA about is acquiring properties that they have. And
That's the city.
that's the
HCDPA
city,
is the
right?
city.
And so what we're trying to do is get as much property as we can and get a development partner so they can evaluate the property and tell us which properties are viable, that they're willing to partner with us on and possibly build on and expand our footprint at the housing authority, in addition to whatever we can do here. So that's what we're looking at doing. It's only a request for qualification. So we're not going out and saying, hey, you're the partner and we're gonna build with you. We're trying to get information on who is willing to develop, because there's going to be some caveats that need to be made on both our behalves. Particularly the developer, because we want to keep the rents reasonable as possible, so the residents can benefit. Okay.
Since I've been here almost 20 years, I think I haven't went up maybe $50.
Okay.
probably.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
okay, no problem. No problem. And the last thing,
Can I just add
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question? So when the HCDPA meetings are happening that are like important to that, will you
It's
alert?
tomorrow.
That
Thank you
one
for
I'm
that
pla- I'm
question.
planning to be at
It's
that
in
one.
person.
yeah.
and
Oh, it's only
very-
in
if we
person?
can get as many people as.
Oh,
we
no.
can.
City
Right.
Hall?
If I could repeat
City
that,
Hall.
the meeting is tomorrow at 4 PM. So as many residents and commissioners and other folks who support us can be present at City Hall at 4 PM. To show that we are concerned about.
That's the
those
reason I
things.
asked for
Yes,
that,
no,
because I
thank
know
you so
tomorrow's
much.
an important
It
meeting.
is a very important meeting. The item was on the agenda previously. However, the public meetings act, information came out and they were not able to meet because they didn't have a quorum, and then they pushed the meeting back.
So they're not gonna do it hybrid at all? Like,
No, it's now, and while they're doing hybrid, yes, but all board members have to now be in person.
Right.
oh, okay, but I could be there just. on-
Yeah, you can.
Great, okay.
But people that come in person, it's a great showing.
No, I know, I'm
of our
gonna be in
support.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
So,
Just wanted to make that clear for the general public.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last thing, which I really think was exciting, we had a staff training on the 12th of this month, last Monday. So if you didn't notice, the offices were closed for a few hours. And we had a behavioral assessment workshop, which works to develop leaders, improve communications, and fosters team building. In addition to that, we had a team value workshop that was conducted. And it was exciting because there we established our HHA core values, which were integrity, and that where our words and deeds match up, effectiveness, executing with precision to achieve results, legacy, which is very exciting, making a difference today with tomorrow in mind, and quality, a standard of excellence, and teamwork, a cooperative effort. And so this was an exciting portion to share with the residents as well, because as we move forward, these values will drive how we operate. And so I wanted to explain that to the residents, have them understand, like, we're not just here working without a purpose. There's reasons why we're doing this, and these are the underlying reasons that drive it. And the training was conducted by Manifold Associates LLC, and it was an excellent training. The employees seemed to be very receptive to it and talked about it for several days afterwards. And they actually had follow-up meetings with the trainer. And so it was very helpful. And that is it for the executive director's report. Any questions?
Can I make a comment about the emergency button?
Yes, sir.
Back during COVID. many
I'm sorry,
people- back-
what's your name, woman?
Robert,
Robert,
905,
thank you, Mr. Robert.
that's what I go by.
Mr. Robert 905.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
There's not any more of me, it's me.
Okay, okay.
During COVID, many people tried to volunteer to go around and do the wipe downs.
Yes,
Well, I think they were overzealous, elevator buttons maybe, and the fluids might have got in there.
I've heard that.
Okay,
I've heard that. And we do think that was part of the problem. So,
okay.
again, we're working to get that rectified. The large elevator button is working.
Mhm.
But I did hear that.
The only thing I know about one elevator, it might be cable slide.
It's a roller, they're saying.
Is it a
Yeah, but
roller?
the parts are ordered.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'm definitely on it. I just don't, I'm trying to give you a general idea. I didn't want to get too technical, but it's a roller, and
I know
that's why it's a
that.
little bit noisy.
Otis has elevators all over the United States,
Yes, they do.
especially Chicago.
Anything else from anyone? Okay. Commissioner Smith, do you have a resident commissioners report today? I'm Bennett, Jesus. He wasn't even gonna correct me. I'm just looking like, what? Commissioner Bennett, my apologies, sir.
Commissioner Gordon, if that's what I'm saying.
Do you have a report today?
Well, you touched upon the elevator. That noise is very disconcerting.
Yeah.
That clack, 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 clack.
Mhm.
A lot of people just avoid that elevator, which means the other one's gonna be overused. But besides that, It's the same issues. People who have spoken to me are speaking to me about barking dogs, but it's funny, one person to tell you one thing, and when you check behind them, another person tells you something different. Somebody complains about somebody's dog barking all the time. Then you talk to somebody else, they go, well, that dog doesn't bark. So, no.
So true.
Where are we with the, who's going to check about the paperwork for the people with animals?
Well, primarily my office staff, but
Okay. Is that in process or?
not yet. I just spoke about it at the meeting and that, but since you brought it up, that along with with smoking, we intend to do a large campaign. To
Yes, because that
re-educate,
was the other.
right, to re-educate, our residents on why smoking is hazardous, to make them understand that we're supposed to be a smoke-free environment. Trying to do everything I can first before I start issuing warnings, but that ultimately will be next and find if people do not comply because, unfortunately, some people, the Surgeon General says secondhand smoke is bad, period. But there are some people who are very sensitive to it, more sensitive to others, and very, very concerned about their health, and we don't want anyone to have to live there uncomfortably.
Well, to piggyback that smoking thing, so this roundabout out here, there's a problem with that for the people who do smoke. Sometimes they can't even go over there because other people who don't live there are occupying that, doing whatever and chasing away the tenants from this building from being over there smoking. I don't know if we have a remedy for that.
I can't say that I do, but I have spoken with a previous police officer. He's the commissioner, Mr. Zakos. What's his name, please? Yes.
Commissioner Bauer.
Commissioner Bauer. So I've spoken with him about that issue, and he's educated me some on it. And I haven't had that experience much during the day. I do walk around the building, but it's one of the, I don't just walk around just to walk around. One of my intentions are if I see things that are out of place, I speak to people politely and try to correct those situations. So no one has come to me directly and say, hey, I've gotten run away from the roundabout. I've heard people say, oh, well, I don't know whether they don't feel comfortable, but from my understanding that the people that are there generally are really not doing anything and just kind of hanging out. But again, I'm waiting, or I haven't encountered them myself personally. One of the reasons I spoke to him is I asked if he could bring some attention to folks that are not supposed to be on the property, as well as just other people that may be taking up space that as opposed to our residents and, being comfortable. And so.
Have we tried a security approach? People that are not supposed to be here first before we spoke to them?
Well, again, I have to see, and I'll ask about that, but it's nothing happening during the day because I'm here and the security person is here at night. So, and he's not an active officer. I was asking for some advice from him, about how to go about it. And in addition to that, I asked him and I kind of understand a little bit about how they're proceeding, but we're not asking them to arrest people, but people are not supposed to be here.
How are they gonna know who's not supposed to be here?
Well, they would probably, from my experience, typically,
Contact
ID
the office
people
and
and
the
well, if it's security, they know.
The security, yeah.
Right?
But I was
Security,
just
no, but
wondering
if it
about
was
the-
an officer, they may ask for identification or something like that. However, they're not gonna do that if there's really no cause for it.
Mhm.
I'd like to look into as a board what some community policing models that we can bring. Start looking at, talking about with the residents and with the security guard that we have. And have a goal to implement new development with a community policing policy. Because I was, before you came, when we started the conversations about a security guard, one of the this was one of the common complaints from the resident commissioner, that they're hearing from residents that people that aren't supposed to be on the property are here. And we're trying to find a way to, you know, nip it in the bud before getting to police interactions.
Yeah, because you don't want to make it a police state.
Yeah, and that's why.
That'd be the wrong thing to do.
I apologize for interrupting. And that's exactly why I wanted to speak with him to make him understand what I was looking for. I wasn't asking for him to come and bring down a hammer, but to your point, he actually spoke more about the same as you as well. And he said, you know, there is really like a no harm, no foul situation. So to further say that, he said to me, if you go over and speak to them and just kind of say, hey, how you doing, what's going on, what are you doing? Because he's had that experience as well. And some people say, hey, we're just playing dominoes, you know, we're just hanging out, we're not doing anything. But again, I haven't seen anybody that had, and nobody's brought anything to my attention where they were impeding them from hanging out there.
We're talking about just the small, like the
Yes, the
gazebo over
gazebo,
there.
yes.
Okay, because it's pretty small, really. So it's like.
Well,
if
it is
it's-
this gazebo, but there's benches around and there's another bench, like a picnic table.
Mhm,
So, I mean, there's plenty of space.
mhm.
I don't know how many people all smoke at once, but I've seen one tenant cook out over there.
Mhm.
But that's it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's okay.
But that's it. But Commissioner, if you can, Commissioner Bennett, if folks have those concerns in the future, if you could have them come to me so that I could get more and better information and try to pin down times and things of that nature, that would be helpful.
And you're so funny.
What? What I do now? Well, because I know it's really, I mean, I don't know how to address that, because you don't want to be chasing people out that aren't doing anything. It's really two people who have said something about it. And the issue really is that they're using that as an excuse not to go over there and smoke and be smoking by the building. And then you look, you see all these cigarette butts by the curb. So that's why I'm, you know, it's a concern to me, because we don't want cigarette butts by the curb. You know, it doesn't look good, and that's supposed to be smoking by the building.
So thank you for that information. And, you know, if in the future, if there's information that, even though you want to mention, but you may not want to be full disclosure about what's happening, you know, for whatever reason, you're always welcome to come to my office and give me more information, and I'll definitely work on dealing with it as diplomatically as possible. For whatever reason, people are responsive to me, and I'm happy about that. And so I have no problems going up and talking to people, meaning the people that may be offending our residents, and just, you know, taking that initial approach with them and saying, hey, look, can you know what's going on? So typically people they don't give me a problem. So.
Well, I understand what you're saying,
Yes.
but you're not a cop. And we don't want you to be a cop. We don't want you to go out there talking to people and telling people to move along and stuff like that. I don't know how the issue is going to be addressed. It's not a large issue. To me, the issue really is the ones who are now afraid to go over there smoking in areas where they're not supposed to be smoking.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your concern, and, you know, we'll do whatever we can in the meantime, as well as look to, well, I hope that the board of commissioners does look into the idea that Commissioner Cousins spoke about, and I will as well, so that we can, you know, be better going forward.
I'll definitely take that on and look up some things, as well as I think it's important for resident commissioners to benefit from some like conflict resolution trainings, because they live here. So they always have a different perspective on how people, even interact with them having positions of power in the place that they live.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. I think that's great. I think that's a great idea. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you elaborated on the
Mhm.
depth of the
Mhm.
Yeah,
of the story.
Yeah,
yeah,
it definitely gave a different
yeah, for sure.
perspective, yes. Anything else?
Nope.
Is there a policy on alcohol outside? That draws it.
I'm sorry,
The smokers that is drawing openly consuming alcohol in public.
is there a policy on that?
Is there a policy? for that? I mean, brown bagging could have been 1974.
Right.
We're talking about.
I haven't seen anything in the lease specifically. I've heard it and I'm gonna look at it and, to your point, we're gonna do going forward the things that we need to do and can do to build for the community. So I do take note of these things, and when there's an opportunity to make changes and add things to our lease to ensure compliance, then I'll do that. But in this case, it doesn't, from what we're talking about, it doesn't necessarily seem like it's our residents that have the issue. It's the other folks in the community. And even then, we want to be careful of that because that becomes a police activity, which we are a police issue, which we are trying to avoid. So we'll do what we can.
Well, therein lies the problem. Because you can sit there and watch these people pull into the parking lot who obviously don't live there and they're hanging out. Once again, I don't know if there's a remedy for that. You can't stop people from coming in there. I mean, what is so is there a procedure for our parking lot? Who's supposed to park in our parking lot? Is it only our residents?
Yes. So before you finish your sentence, let me say something to you. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction, right?
That's
And
correct.
so we can begin to enforce that, but that means that people don't have the proper identification and the proper paperwork, their cars are gonna get towed. Some of our residents may fall in that category, and that could be an undue hardship. I can always educate residents and say, hey, this is coming and this is what you need to be there. Ultimately, the purpose is not for them, meaning our residents not to park there, will be for other people that don't live here, not to park there and not to hang out.
Well, I didn't, not to cut you off, but I didn't mean to put it that way. I actually am putting it out there like that because it can't be addressed because of that.
Okay,
Because then it becomes a police state again, which is
yes,
something we don't want.
understood. My apologies.
So I'm just kind of pointing out the little intricacies of what's going on with the parking lot and that gazebo roundabout, whatever that thing is. And when you're talking about people drinking, are you talking about tenants?
Not our residents.
Oh, okay.
The visitors come in with their cars,
Yeah, see, we have no control of that.
like State Street Park. I don't see a sign. People complain they don't want to go over there because
Right.
they
And
see things like that.
And I understand that there was a fence around the property before, we don't, as far as this is just me, I'm not sure how anybody else feels about it, but I wouldn't want to go back to that. We don't want to.
What would that solve?
Well,
Keep anybody out.
well, the idea is to keep people out, but that's not,
Just
we
make
don't
them
want
wanna
to
come
separate
more.
ourselves from the community.
Mhm.
At least that's my view. If we vote on something different or do something different, but that's my view. We want to be as much as of the community as possible, and a part of the community as possible. I mean, and to that point, right, sometimes people come, our neighbors come and visit, even when we don't invite them. I mean, I honestly, when I walk around the property, I don't just walk here and cut through Columbia Apartments. I literally walk all the way down to the end of the street and around and walk back up, trying to get some steps in, but I'm not doing anything wrong, but I'm a neighbor, so I don't know everybody here yet in the town, and I don't know who's who and, all of the residents yet, but But we're gonna do what we can to work on those issues.
Well, I'm just pointing out the problems there, but also wanting you to know that I recognize that there's really no solution. So the main thing is some kind of way to get our tenants
Mhm.
not to smoke where they're not supposed to. The other stuff can
Which is
take care
maybe
of
the
itself.
community policing.
Yeah, I'm full of solutions tonight, so I'm just dreaming like maybe it's time to start the tenants association. That, you know, there are a group of tenants that take turns taking care of the space, like take the trainings and identify themselves as folks in the building that are going to remind people like, we care about this space, let's take care of this space.
Okay,
And my
and-
organization is ready to help if people are ready for that. I know everybody's capacity is like,
Well, that's an excellent point, actually, because the tenant has approached us, at least one, who was interested in starting that. I could not meet with her last week. She's here now. I could not meet with her last week, but I did tell her I would meet with her this week. So this makes it more prominent from my schedule. So
I would say give her my information, but
But
she has.
she
that.
has it.
Thank you.
so I think it's a great solution.
How do you feel?
It's a great opportunity to get us involved and become more of a community. So let's make it happen.
Seems like one basic thing I think we could all agree on and leave with is that if any of the tenants are ever made to feel uncomfortable or unsafe on the property, then during the daytime, they can always come to the office.
Yes,
At the nighttime, we always have our own security guard on.
yes,
So there's at least a first step
yes.
of recourse that everyone can take. And then we have all the intricacies we've talked about, but tenants should always be able to feel safe and comfortable on the property. It seems like is that,
But not to smoke wherever they feel safe.
but that doesn't give them. Oh, thanks. That doesn't, give them the right to smoke cigarettes somewhere they're not supposed to.
Right. It's an excellent summation. I appreciate it. We have a very active board. That's a beautiful thing. And this is one of the things that I was talking about in the resident meeting that, together we can do so many things. And not just busy work, but great things and accomplish to make the community great for us. So anything else? Anybody?
I have just a funny little side question that just popped into my mind thinking about the gazebo. And maybe I just was curious if you, Jeffrey, know about the plans that the city has been working on to basically like the whole sort of overhaul of the streetscape and all of that. There's like, it's one of the many projects, it's this company called, it's part of the DRI grant that the city got a couple of years ago. And I believe it's still like a project that is happening, and it involves overhauling like the whole street environment around State Street and Second, like that. There's a sort of corridor that the plan will be.
All the sidewalks. and
Yeah, the
everything.
I was gonna say,
sidewalks.
not the
and-
current work that they're doing in the
No.
street.
The
We're talking about something-
website is Hudson Connects.
So I absolutely do not know, but about that,
They have like all the renderings and
Yeah,
visuals.
and
And I
I don't
bet-
know the timeline of that at all, but the city got this grant like many years ago now, and I think there was supposed to be a limit to when they could use the funds, so that it must be gonna happen sometime.
Well, thank you for that information. That's something to look into. And something to look into and talk to our local politicians about that. We have one online.
Oh, cool.
So maybe, and I've met, yes, sir, go ahead, Mr. DePietro.
Yeah, there actually is no limit to the timeline. I mean, that we know of. But the project is gonna go out to bid shortly. And it does involve, as Rebecca said, the street, I mean, that would be relevant to HHA, the street corner from Second Street on State Street all the way down to Front Street. And the corners, the street itself will be somewhat narrowed. The whole idea is to calm the traffic there because too many people speed from downstate from Second to Front. There'll also be some work on the Columbia side of the HHA property. So it's in the works. It's right around the corner, literally and figuratively.
Okay. Am I able to connect with you so I can see the renderings and?
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. And Michael Hoffman would probably be the best person to correspond with because he's on top of it as well. But I could do it, either one.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the comment.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that to my attention.
No problem.
Is there any other pressing, not so pressing, or thoughtful?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I don't want to
Been
go.
properly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much for attending our meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.